Mangwana ni mwalelepo fukenjani kleklas vanawe Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening in the SADC region and beyond. We come to you every single weekday from 7 a.m. And as usual, you are joined by Ashwin Berry and Aina Raiza Kweyo.
Happy Monday, everyone. It's so good to be back on your screen. Now, today is a ride like a wind day. There is no better feeling than the wind in your hair as you look out at a beautiful horizon. Ride like a wind day is an excellent opportunity to marvel at things flying and perhaps take part in some flying yourself. Wind powers movement in different ways, helping us travel through air and over waters, as well as providing us with energy to use in our homes. And here is more on a ride like a wind day. Welcome back to Africa Good Morning, and here are the news making headlines. USAID chief says emergency food in Ethiopia's Tigray runs out this week. UNAIDS and its partners, as well as other humanitarian organizations, have depleted their stores of food items warehouse in Tigray. Samantha Power, head of the U.S. Agency for International Development, said in a statement late on Thursday. People in Tigray are starving, with up to 900,000 in famine condition and more than 5 million in desperate need of humanitarian assistance, Power said. This shortage is not because food is unavailable, but because the Ethiopian government is obstructing humanitarian aid and personnel, including land convoys and air access. On Thursday, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for the immediate ceasefire and unrestricted aid access in Tigray. The UN warned last month that more than 100,000 children in Tigray could die of hunger.
In our second story, gunmen kidnapped more than 75 people in northwest Nigeria. Armed gunmen kidnapped at least 75 people from a village in northwest Nigeria, residents said on Saturday, the latest in a slew of abductions that have plagued the West African country's west. The spate of kidnappings has thwarted all security efforts to stem the crimes, often carried out for ransom, and posed a challenge to the government of President Muhammadu Buhari. Habu Abubakar, a resident of Rini village, said more than 80 people were kidnapped by the gunmen, who he said came wearing black clothes on more than 50 motorbikes. A police spokesman confirmed the abduction but declined to provide details. Muhammad Dan Awal, a resident, said the attack started on Friday afternoon and lasted until the early hours of Saturday as the kidnappers went from house to house, snatching children and the elderly.
In our next story, Chad halved its troops fighting Sahel militants, a spokesperson says. Chad has decided to recall half of its 1,200 troops battling Islamist militants in the tri-border area of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, a spokesperson for Chadian authorities said on Saturday. Chad deployed their soldiers in February to support the France-backed regional fight with insurgents linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State, who have destabilized swathes of territory in West Africa's Sahel region in recent years. The decision to withdraw 600 of these soldiers was taken with an agreement of Chad's Sahel allies, General Azem Agona said, speaking on behalf of the Transitional Military Council in Chad. The recalled Chadian troops would be redeployed elsewhere, Agona said, without giving any further details.
Algeria's desperate wildfire fight buckets and branches. The once verdant mountains of the Algerian region of Tizi Ouzou, peppered with olive groves and coniferous trees, were ravaged by more than 100 forest fires over the past fortnight. The heat could be felt from dozens of kilometers away. At a petrol service station in the province of Boira, a man working the pump labored with the suffocating atmosphere. Forest fires are not a new phenomenon for Algeria and the northeastern region of Tizi Ouzou in particular. On the contrary, they are regular occurrences that first responders tussle with almost every year. Yet, in the midst of a heat wave, no rain, and unrelenting gusts of wind, this year's blazes caused extensive damage. Tens of thousands of hectares around the villages of Labra, Nath Irathen, Beni Dowala, and Ait Mesba were completely engulfed in flames, leaving charred silhouettes of the evergreen trees that used to line the hills.
In our next story, Kenyan appeals court uphold order to halt president's constitutional changes. Kenya's Court of Appeal upheld a decision to stop President Uhuru Kenyatta from making broad constitutional changes, limiting his ability to prevent his estranged deputy from succeeding him next year. The proposed amendments, popularly known as the Building Bridges Initiative, would have been the biggest changes to governance since a new constitution in 2010. The court upheld a High Court decision in May that declared the proposed reforms illegal on the basis that Kenyatta acted unconstitutionally. Kenyatta argued that the constitutional overhaul would promote power sharing among competing ethnic groups and was not intended to deny anyone a presidency.
In our next story, Burkina Faso, UN chief condemns deadly attack on northern town. 80 reported dead. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has strongly condemned an armed attack on a convoy near the town of Abinda in the north of Burkina Faso, which has reportedly led to the death of some 80 people. Government and military sources reportedly declared that 59 civilians, 6 pro-government militiamen, and 15 military police were slaughtered, while security forces said that 80 militants were also murdered. The statement added that Mr. Guterres conveys his condolences to the bereaved families and wishes a speedy recovery to the injured. The assault took place at a time of rising Islamist attacks in Burkina Faso, which has forced record-breaking numbers of people from their homes. However, instability stretches beyond the country's borders. The top UN counter-terrorism official, Vladimir Voronkov, warned on Thursday that the so-called Islamic State in the Greater Sahara has spread relentlessly across the African continent, killing several hundred civilians since the start of 2021 in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger.
More than a dozen killed in southwest Niger village attack. At least 16 people have been killed in an attack on a village in southwestern Niger, where attacks have reportedly massacred civilians this year, a local official and a security source said. The attacks follow the killing on Monday of 37 civilians, including 14 children, in a village in the same region. Theirs is about 20 kilometers from the 3 other villages where a series of attacks in May by fighters linked to ISIL armed group forced more than 11,000 inhabitants to flee. Armed groups in Tillabéri and Toha regions bordering Mali have killed more than 420 civilians and driven tens of thousands of others from their homes in 2021. New York-based human Rights Watch said in a report this month.
In our next story, South Africans form long queues as COVID-19 jabs open up to all adults. South Africans formed queues hundreds of meters long to get their COVID-19 shots on Friday after the government made vaccinations available to all adults in order to hasten a rollout beset by challenges and delays. South Africa has been battered by 3 coronavirus waves, infecting at least 2.65 million people, killing 78,000, by far the continent's worst toll. and pummeling an already struggling economy with lockdowns and travel restrictions. On Friday, authorities opened up vaccinations to 18 to 35-year-olds. About 8% of South Africa's population of 60 million is fully vaccinated, and 14% have received one shot. On Thursday, a Johannesburg University survey showed vaccine acceptance improving to nearly three-quarters of the population last month, compared with two-thirds at the start of the year.
Uganda suspends more than a 50 rights group citing non-compliance. Authorities in Uganda have suspended more than 50 civic groups for allegedly not complying with regulations, dealing a blow to hundreds of thousands of people who directly benefit from the organization's activities. The suspension, which target agencies ranging from rights watchdog to women's groups, were announced on Friday by the government's non-governmental organization Bureau. The suspension takes immediate effect and will be enforced, said the non-governmental organization. It said the measures were taken in response to the group's violation of myriad regulations, including operating with expired permits, failing to file accounts, or failing to register with the authorities. The government's action will renew fears of an assault on the civic society that grew before a charged presidential election earlier this year.
In our next story, Ethiopia plans to launch Facebook rival. Ethiopia says it plans to develop its own social media platforms after accusing global companies like Facebook for acting against the interests of the country. The director of the government's Information Network Security Agency, Shumete Gizao, told local media that Facebook and Twitter had become instruments for political forces. He criticized the fact that some accounts had been blocked and content removed. Ahead of elections in June, Facebook said it had removed a network of fake accounts that were linked to the government agency that is responsible for monitoring telecommunications and the internet. Mr. Shumeto also said Ethiopia was developing platforms that can substitute the messaging program WhatsApp and the video conferencing platform Zoom.
In our next story, Nigeria's royal wedding, private jets, glitz and glamour. Private jets filled up the runway of the airport in the northern Nigerian city of Kano as members of Nigeria's elite and West African dignitaries flew in for the wedding of the president's son, and the daughter of a prominent religious and traditional leader. The marriage of Yusuf Buhari to Zahara Bayero is one of the biggest celebrity events of the year. Thousands attended the event at the palace of Ime of Bichi, a town in Kano State. One historian told BBC that the wedding between presidential and royal families was unprecedented in Nigeria. The pair met at the University of Surrey in the UK. The festivities continued on Saturday when the bride's father, Nesio Bayero, was officially crowned as the Emir of Bichi, while his brother is the Emir of Kano, one of Nigeria's prominent Islamic leaders. The groom's family paid 500,000 naira as a bride price, which is 10 times the average amount in northern Nigeria. The festivities were scaled down because of the coronavirus pandemic. Many of the guests wore face masks, with Nigeria currently struggling to contain an upsurge in cases.
You know, I'm tempted to say it's extra, but Nigerians love weddings, so I kind
I'm
of
going
get
to
it.
look for this story and follow these people on Instagram.
All right. Okay, now in the last of our top stories, we are in Mozambique. 89 zebras and wildebeests transferred from Kruger to restore Zinave Park. At least 89 zebras and blue wildebeests have been translocated from the Kruger National Park in South Africa to the Zinave Conservation Site in Mozambique. The donation from the South African government is helping to restore the Mozambican National Park, which has been decimated by poaching. The 408,000-hectare park has suffered for decades from human activities, including poaching, which has led to the loss of several large mammal species, including the black rhino, Cape buffalo, cheetah, reedbuck, eland, elephant, giraffe, Liechtenstein's hartebeest, hartebeest, roan antelope, sable antelope, spotted hyena, wildebeest, and Selous zebra. These translocations ensure the sustainability of the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park. This transboundary protected area covers a total area of 99,800 square kilometers and encompasses the Kruger National Park in the Makuleke region of South Africa, the Limpopo, Zinawe, and Banine National Parks in Mozambique, and the Gonarajou National Park in Zimbabwe. All right, that brings us to the end of our top stories. As usual, Africa Good Morning has so much more for you, as long as you can hold on until after the break.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. African inspired and driven by artificial intelligence, TOA is an innovative and disruptive global professional knowledge sharing and mentorship digital platform for women and girls. Visionary and founder of TOA, Irene Kiwia, explains its goal, vision, and as well as its aims to expand its footprint in Africa. And here is more on that.
Now, Africa Good Morning is not just concerned with bringing you the news. We like to make sure that you catch up with the important innovations around Africa. Now, keeping that in mind, African-inspired and driven by artificial intelligence, TWAA is an innovative and disruptive global professional knowledge sharing and mentorship digital platform for women and girls. Visionary and founder of TWAA, Irene Kiwia, explains its goals and the vision to expand its footprint in Africa. Good morning, Irene. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I like how you say TWAA. So I'm going to teach you a Swahili called Twa.
Twa.
Yeah.
Love it, love it. Personally, I speak Shona, and we know that Swahili is our mother language. So thank you for bringing me that much closer to my source. All right, Irene, in our first question, please explain what Twa is all about.
So Twa, which is Swahili and it means acquire or take, is a knowledge sharing and networking platform for women that we build to create a safe space that is diverse for women across the world to connect, network, mentor, access knowledge, and also share opportunities. So it's a digital platform that's accessible via a web app and also an Android app. We're soon launching the iOS app. And the reason for it is because we're seeing more and more women using social networking platforms. But, you know, one of the biggest issue is the gender digital divide that is continuously growing. And one of the things that is cited as very important for women, for more women to use digital tools, is relevance. So we built a relevant platform by women for women that is meant to give women a safe space and a very unique user experience that allows for them to connect in a community manner. Women are very community driven and we love our communities. So it's an open but closed community space for networking, to access mentorship. We wanted women to use networking tools that gives them value. The more time you spend using the tool, the more value you're stimulating for yourself. So that is what TWI is about.
All right, I love that you mentioned space, taking up space. Twa, which means to take. In Namibia, they speak Oshiwambo, they would say Tamba, and the Shona say Tora, taking up space for women. So what are the main goals of TWA? Of Twa. I know you highlighted a bit of them, but could you just give us a short briefing on the main goals of Twa?
So the key goals for TWA is first, women to network, right? We're already networking offline or online via other social networking tools, but the user experience and the user journey that is currently available is what TWA is trying to fill the gap for. We want women to network in safe spaces. When I say safe, there's a lot of cyberbullying that is currently taking place on online platforms. So TWA is by design built to counter cyberbullying. Yeah, and when women use the platform, they'll understand why. Because at no point in time, someone can come to your profile and profile you and bully you. It's built to give women opportunities to acquire knowledge and share opportunities. So people only see or only interact with the things that are valuable to them. It's also built to give women an internal perspective as opposed to an external perspective, where you're on a social networking platform and you're able to see all these other different people doing their things. The way the platform is built to allow you an introspect perspective where you follow. We actually don't call it follow. You connect with opportunities, you connect with people, and you connect with resources and tools that gives you value. You connect with mentors, you connect with content and all these other tools that are able to either help you in your personal journey or your career development or your professional development. It's also built with amazing community mobilization tools, groups. Women are very group-led, right? There's women in business networks, women in agriculture networks, women in this and women in that. But one of the challenges is, especially now with COVID, we used to meet, had great events, and maybe after that we'll connect a little bit on WhatsApp, send each other emails, maybe have one Zoom meeting here and there. But the way we've built TWA, it allows for groups to connect and interact seamlessly, where every tool they need is in that particular group. So they can share a calendar, they can have a live Zoom-like event, they can share content, they can access a marketplace, everything within a group. So it's like an intranet for groups, which is something that is not there. Yes.
All right, we'd love to see it. Now,
Also great for, sorry? I wanted to add
just
for people who are into content sharing, so it has amazing content sharing tools for videos, podcasts, audio, that's podcast, articles.
all right.
So it's like media in stereos. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, I mean, naturally, when you have such an important innovation, you want to make sure it's accessible to as many people as possible. So, could you briefly just tell us about how you plan on expanding your footprint in Africa before we say goodbye?
Thank you so much. So we launched TWA from Kenya, which is where the headquarters for the company is, last year in October. And we are currently expanding it across Africa and across the world. We have over 5,000 users in over 2 countries to date. But our plan is to actually partner with local influencers and local champions in the key markets where we want to take on first and build value, then take it from there. But our aim is to ensure that we have ambassadors from each of the countries where we want to have a use case.
All right. Thank you very much, Irene, for telling us about TWA. We certainly hope that you are even more successful in bringing this platform to as many women as possible. Thank you, Irene Kiwia, for joining us here on Africa Good Morning.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right. As we said, Africa Good Morning is not just concerned with bringing you the news. We want to bring you those important innovations, especially from visionaries like Irene Kiwia. You don't believe me? Just Google her name. Stick around. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Africa Good Morning, where we don't just bring you the news in Africa, we make sure that you see and feel the news exactly where it's happening. And a good way to do that, after of course having Irene Kiwia from Kenya and Uganda, is Mr. Mike Situla in Zambia, who's going to give us the lowdown on what is going on in the real Africa. Good morning, Mike. How are you?